Good evening everyone and welcome along to TTML F2. We are here for Season 6, round number 9 of the Championship as we take the Mexican Grand Prix from the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. My name is James. I'm going to be taking through the stream as always on a Thursday night, and joining me in the commentary box in the absence of Mr. Pepsi Freak, he is back once again to cover the action for the second time this season. In fact, it is Mr. NSL Pariah. Pariah, how you doing?
I am doing great and have been looking forward to this all day. I woke up really late, I think it was 12:30 or something today, and I was like, oh yes, TTML commentating tonight.
TTML commentary alongside the head commentator, of course. I just had to throw that one in there, of course, before we get going. To remind you of what happened, of course, last week in France, Yona took the win in the sprint race, Jorg in second, Chris in third. However, it all went wrong for Yona in that feature race, didn't it? Of course, Jorg took the win in the feature race, Neymar in second, and David Charlhood in third. What did that do to the championship standings? Well, let me tell you, Ferrans, of course, missing the final 3 races of the season, including last week in France. He currently leads the championship lead on 176 points, but what Jorg can do is pull theoretically into the championship win if he is to outscore both Yona and Simply Superman tonight, literally by as many points as possible. Jorg there in second on 163. Ferrans is out on top on 176. Just for that as well. Ferrans on I'll start again. Ferrans in first on 176. Jorg in second on 163. Yona in third on 130. So what that means is 33 point advantage for Jorg over Yona. Jorg has basically got to outscore Yona tonight going into the final round of the championship, and as long as he's still 33 points ahead, or 32 points ahead it will be, he will pick up the championship victory possibly by the end of tonight, being of course with Ferrans still in de facto contention, as we're going to call it. But judging by that, Jorg has had recent form. Yona though has had 4 out of the last 5 race wins. These guys have been so competitive and so consistent.
Yeah, I remember from back when I commentated at Imola for the first sprint we had this season, which was an amazing week, commentating both F2 and F5 for me. And I think that last Thursday I was here was time I found out that every league should have sprint races, because oh my god.
Well, of course, you missed the sprint race last week, and I think, honestly, the sprint race last week in France was probably better than the one in Imola, of course. Of course, Neymar catching by 8 seconds a lap that day in Imola. But we are here, of course, at Mexico for the Mexican Grand Prix, and it is the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, as I've already mentioned. 4.3 kilometers and then 2.6 mile, 36 laps awaiting the guys out on track, of course. 3D rest zones, 1 down the start-finish straight, 1 down in towards turn 4, and 1 down in towards turn number 12, in towards the Ferrosol, of course, the baseball stadium section, as we like to call it. 17 turns awaiting the guys out on track, and the first thing that we can report, of course, beautiful blue skies and sunshine, which is exactly what we like to see.
Yeah, that's what most people like to see, but of course then you have that one guy who's from the Amazonas in South America, Pariah, who preferred rain. So for me, I wish I could see some rain here, but there's still 36 laps of racing later, so I can still hope.
You could still hope indeed, of course. Hopefully we might get a little bit of rain. Of course, changeable conditions is normally the key here in Mexico. And of course, we do have the changeable conditions obviously on, with obviously the dry compounded size, the softs, mediums and the hards. And of course, the set of inters and the set of wets, of course, that can be used. Of course, set of inters can dispose of 25 litres of water. The set of wets can dispose of 75 litres of water. The first cars, though, are coming out on track on a bone-dry track, I may add. It is not raining at all, but Neymar is the first man out on track, of course, in the Mercedes, and he's been doing quite consistently in recent weeks. Of course, Neymar doing a fantastic job, I've got to say, in France last week. He's been up and towards the vanguard in the last couple of races here in TTML F2. How do you rate his chances coming into tonight?
Neymar, a really good driver that I've known for a long time. I've raced him a few seasons back in TTML as well, and after what I've seen with his progress the last few months, I think his chances as for podium tonight is going to be really high. And as we can see, we're only 13 drivers as well. So Neymar, I think, will be one of the top drivers tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So he's in the Mercedes, of course. Mercedes representing as well with Tionas, and Tionas, of course, has been quite consistent as well in recent weeks. I haven't run through the constructor standings either. AlphaTauri leading the way on 246 points. They can wrap up the Constructors' Championship tonight as long as they outscore Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo in second on 178, Ferrari in third on 149, Red Bull in fourth on 114, Williams ran off the top five on 137 points. However, we've got no time to run through the bottom half of the field, unfortunately, because Neymar's coming through the final corner now on the run down in towards turn number one. And of course, you can reach in excess of 200 miles an hour in towards turn number one. It's a very long run down. Of course, we saw Max Verstappen in real life go around the outside of two cars to take the race lead in real life in 2021. But will somebody even dare to do that in 2022 here on the same racing game of F1 2021? Neymar coming though through turn three, looking quite good so far out on track. He now comes in toward the left-hander of turn 4, and it's a 28.4 through the first sector from Neymar, so he is looking quite good as he now comes through turn number 5, and then in toward the double right-hander of turn number 6, and of course this can catch a few drivers out. Luckily for Neymar, he has negotiated that with aplomb, and he's done that very nicely indeed. And now, coming through the S section, of course, this S section normally can catch a few drivers out, and we'll see Neymar now coming through turn 11, through the left-hander of turn 11, and now in toward the right-hander of turn 12, through the end of the middle sector, in toward the Ferrosol we go, with a 55.8 through the middle sector with the combined first and middle sector. Of course, it's purple out of everyone so far. Into the Ferrosol, the baseball stadium section, through 14, and then through the 15, and then in towards turn 16 and 17, through the final corner, now on the run to the line, and Neymar set to 114.8 to start off the night.
What a lap there. I was on board with him, of course, as well, and I saw that through turn 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the S section. It was amazing, all the way to the limit, all the way up to the white lines, and but he kept his car inside, struggled a little bit into turn 13 with a lockup, so into the hairpin in baseball section, but except from that, wonderful lap there from the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, fantastic lap indeed from the Mercedes driver. Just flicking through there, Tionas, Nathan Clark, Honey Badger, all invalidated on their lap times, so they're not going to be getting lap times in. Jorg, however, is on a lap on a set of medium compound tyres. He's coming through the middle sector now, and you've got to really try and get the middle sector right. It's a very high downforce setup, so you've got to try and get the car honkered down basically on the track rather than running out wide, and just like Jorg has demonstrated, catching a little bit of oversteer. Coming through Ferrosol, and he's really catching the curbs. I think he might back off this lap as well, as Jorg is coming through the final corner. Is he going to run to the line? I think he will, and now the Dutchman on the run to the line as he nearly goes into the pit lane. Goodness me, 16.8 across the line, and Jorg is not liking things currently out on track. He's 2 seconds off the pace of Neymar, but that lap was very, 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 very scrappy, and Jorg, I think, might need a change of underwear when he goes in for a second run.
Good. I went on board with his teammate Noisy, just started a lap as well with a medium through the first corners. Looking like he gets really great there. Open up to DRS down towards the next corner and into the second sector as well. And these corners can be hard as well. You have to find the right gear to be in and get the right shifting. Short shifting is something I would really recommend through here. And I see Noisy takes it just 122% perfect.
Yeah, very good indeed from Noisy. Now coming through the SA section. The S section, of course, as it's known in good old British, and good old English, I should say. Noisy on the run into the middle sector. 56.5 is actually not too bad. It's purple on his lap currently. I don't think it's purple out of everyone, though, through the middle sector. Neymar out on top, Volokong in second, Jorg in third. Quite a few invalidations so far out on track, given that there's only 3 drivers set a lap. But it's going to be 4, though, as Noisy now coming through Peraltada at the final corner on the run to the line, and he goes third, 15.9. He's around 0.3 per second of Volokong, who's currently the quickest out of the medium runners. He's looking quite good at the minute. Tomo, however, the German, returning of course to TTML F2, he is round coming out of Peraltada at the final corner, and luckily he's reversed it pretty much into the pit lane there. But he is into the pit lane. Luckily, he was on the set of soft compound tyres, invalidated as well, I think, coming through the final corner. Frankie now coming across the line as well, and he's invalidated. Nathan Clark, however, is on a lap, 56.5 through the middle sector, and Nathan has been quite consistent, of course. Got his elbows out last week in France in he got caught up in a few incidents last week. Of course, nothing being reported in the steward's report, I can tell you, from Nathan's perspective. But now Nathan coming around the final corner on the run to the line, and he goes in between Volokong uneven and noisy, and it's a good lap actually, so good in fact he's only 1,000th of his own teammate.
Really close there, and sometimes, I don't know why, but getting so close lap time separated by 1,000, that satisfies me so much.
I think it creates, obviously, the OCD in amongst us that just likes the symmetry, I think, between the drivers out on track. It's fantastic, I've got to say. But that was on his third lap, actually. He went for another lap. Obviously, he must have invalidated the one previously. But he went on a third lap on that set of medium compound tyres. And it looks like, because Matt Tibbles, I think, is round coming through turn 3. He is. Matt Tibbles round coming through turn 3. That must have got caught on the inside curb. Nathan, though, third. He's only 1,000th of a second off. But those medium compound tyres, if he comes to use them, of course, in the race, and he hasn't got as many set of soft compound tyres later on as Frankie goes up to second with the 15 flat, Nathan is going to struggle, probably later on in the race, on that set of medium compound tyres as Jona goes quickest with a 14.3, and now lays the smackdown on everyone on this field.
Look there, as we also saw Frankie and Jona get up into times here, and as we were talking about 1,000 separating into Haas drivers, and I remember last week at the one-shot qualifying in France in F5 where I commentated, I think with 4 drivers, or 4 or 5 drivers separated by 300s in total, just a few thousand between some of them, and again, the satisfaction right there. I think right now, T-Bus was an invalidated lap.
Yeah, Jorg is about to prepare, coming through the Ferrosol, coming through turn 16 and now through Peril Tarver at 17. Jorg is preparing for a lap. He's on a set of soft compound tyres now, so we should see him rocket up the field. Whether or not he is going to be at the same pace as Jona, these two have been very consistent in recent weeks in terms of qualifying. Jona out-qualified, of course, Jorg last week in terms of the sprint race, in terms of sprint qualifying for then the feature race. Jona ended up 2 laps down off the race winner, who was Jorg, who's now obviously P7. Jona, though, 14.3. We'll see how this lap compares. Coming through in towards turn 4 now on board with Jorg. And looking good through the first sector. He's 4 tenths up in the first sector, 28.1. Exactly where you want to be. I've seen drivers, though, go considerably quicker through that first sector. Around a 27.7, 27.8 sometimes. I've seen drivers go around there. But now you're coming through the right-hander of turn 6. And then in toward the SA section. Through 7, through 8. And then through the left-hander of turn 9. And then negotiating the chicane through 10 and 11. And this has looked very, very quick from Jorg coming through the middle sector, and now 55.5 in the middle sector. He's purple out of everyone in the middle sector, so he's looking very, very quick and consistent. Gets caught in the curb slightly through turn 12, but now into the Ferrosol through 14, through 15, and then in toward Peril Tarver at 16 and 17. This has looked quick from Jorg. Is it quick enough to beat Jona? I don't think it is. On the run to the line, 14.6, a good lap time, but in the end, he's 2.5 tenths off Jona's lap. Jona out on top of 14.3, Jorg there in second, and Neymar also came in there with a lap of 14.6. He went third as well. But currently, Jorg cannot keep up the pace of Jona at this early stage in qualifying.
Yeah, I was on board with Neymar and saw his lap. Again, the section, wonderful. They're all, like, on the line. Oh, and his teammate T-John is around into the wall, but he has survived it. Luckily there, and that corner right there is a hard one. I've seen many drivers get caught on the curbs right there, and also in the medium tires as well, easy to get sent around there, but lucky to save it and not lose a tire or two.
Yeah, not luckily go rear wing into the wall, as I've seen drivers do here in the past, obviously on this game. I've seen drivers go literally catching that inside curb, coming through turn 8 it is, the right-hander, getting caught in that inside curb, being flung round 360-like, and then ending up rear wing, basically, into the wall, and then they get rear wing damage, and they've retired out of the race. So hopefully, Tiona's not going to be doing that, of course, in qualifying so far. Tom was through the middle sector, 56.4, but he's invalid coming through the middle sector. Tomo also out there on a lap, and he is just invalidated coming through turn 10. A lot of invalidations still, though. 6 minutes ago, Jona out on top, Jorgen second, Neymar in third. Of course, if you're just tuning in to TTML F2, yes, I do have a Norwegian alongside me. Of course, it is Pariah talking us through co-commentary tonight. Pepsi normally alongside me, of course, but Jona out on top, Jorgen second, Neymar on third, and currently this has looked like Jona's session so far.
It has, it has. I also was with Honey Badger, but he did invalidate as well. So I'm now with Nate Clark, who was a second up in his time with a purple second sector, coming through the last corners now in his Haas. And in real life, it would be one of the fastest cars, but here he's almost he's the second fastest with 140.4. So close, like it's at 500s behind Jonah.
Not only that, though, he's a tenth and a half ahead of ahead of Jorg, sorry. That is an unbelievable lap from Nathan Clark. He's been quite consistent in qualifying in recent weeks, but nothing on this scale. He's only 500ths of a second off Jona, but a tenth and a half clear of Jorg, and 3/10 clear of your own teammate. That is a very good lap from Nathan Clark, and watch out for him, because obviously if he puts on a fresh set of soft compounded tyres and he improves again, Nathan Clark could be a shock pole position here.
He could, of course. 5 minutes left. Time to do one more lap. T-Bus coming through the last corner with medium tires, and he'll go into P7 here, but of course we'll have time to set or go into the pit, put in some soft tires, and do one last lap.
Yeah, definitely so. Obviously, Tibos normally up there in terms of the pace, 15.8 on that sort of medium compounded tyres. 5 minutes ago in the session, Jona in the lead from Nathan Clark in second, Jorg in third. Currently in the session, I have been informed in the comment section, by the way, Noisy has reported, the AlphaTauri driver, a chance of rain at the end of the race has been reported. Not sure what intensity. I'm assuming it's going to go inters towards the end of the race if there is a chance right at the end, but we could get a scenario where, and normally the weather absolutely lies to us on here, the Codemasters game, the rain normally comes a few laps before the end of the race in terms of being predicted before, pretty much at the end of the race, so we could see inter conditions pretty much right at the end of the race, probably I would say in the last 5 laps or so.
Yeah, I was a little bit suspicious about it in the start, because it took like a minute before the car was out on track. And every time when I notice that it takes a little while before the car gets out on track, it's often because you take that quick look at the weather forecast, and then you see like overcast and drops. And then you have to sit there and watch, of course, because you only see the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, then you get 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and you'll have to see how the rain gets through into the session to find out, okay, can I go for the dry setup, can I go for the wet setup? If like, imagine that the qualifying will be dry, but the whole race is going to be wet, then you'll go for the wet setup and maybe put down the wing a little bit for qualifying and back up in the race. But if you have dry qualifying and first half of the race dry, and then it sits with a little bit rain at the end, then you're sitting there, should I go for dry setup and then put off my front wing a little bit when the rain comes? And immediately when I saw 1 minute without until the car got out on track, rain maybe.
Yeah, rain maybe. We have missed the first 2/3 of the lap with Jonas coming through turn 12 and 13. It has looked very good, I've got to say. 55.6 through the middle sector. So he's up there around New York, Neymar sort of area. We'll be expecting the Mercedes to go in and around that sort of area as he comes through the final corner, now on the run to the line. And he does indeed go in that area. He goes third, right in between Nathan Clark and Jorg. And he's only 0.04 of a second ahead, of course, of one of the championship contenders in Jorg. Jonrad on top, Nathan Clark in second, Jonas in third. To bring you more up to speed about the conditions later on track as well, Matthias, who was Neymar of course in the comment section, saying it could be a bit like Russia 2021. Remember what happened there? McLaren in the lead? Maybe a bit of deja vu from last week perhaps?
Oh, it could be a really interesting one if we get to rain at the end and get a little bit of Russia vibes, especially with the McLaren and the championship that we have going on here right now. So I agree with Noisy. Interesting end of the race incoming.
Definitely so. Heavy rain as well, he also says in that. Jona, though, coming through turn 2, and then to the right-hander of turn 3. This is his lap. This is a make-or-break lap, I think, for Jona. Because if Nathan Clark and Jonas can try and improve on their lap times, Jona might be in trouble. And Jona responds 2/10 up in the first sector alone from Jona. And he's now on a rapid lap in towards the right-hander of turn 6. Now in towards the SA section of turn 7. And Jona is looking very quick through the first sector. As long as he gets this section right, he is on possibly for a sub 114. Through the middle sector now, on board with him, through turn 10, through turn 11. It's looked quick, it's looked rapid from Yona. Has he lost any time? No. 2 tenths up still in the middle sector as he now comes into the Ferrosol of turn 12. And then through the left-hander of 13, Honey Badger gets out the way, just off to the left-hand side, negotiates the curve very nicely indeed, and Yona just gets caught on the curve through 14, now out of Paraltada in towards 16 and 17, and Yona on the run to the line. Is it a sub 114? Yes it is, a 139. What a lap from Yona! And that is how you respond to your rival being 33 points ahead of you in the championship. Yona comes in with an absolute stonking lap time, 113.9, and that is unbeatable.
Let me just say, of 2.5, more than 2.5 years in the league racing community, I've never seen such a lap like that. I was looking at those first 3 corners. You have to cut the corners a lot. You have to get that orange curb part right under the car, and at the same time not invalidate. That is one of the hardest things to do on comparing all tracks together, this track and those first 3 corners so hard. And Jonah managed them so good and picked up 2 tenths there. And again, I think that's one of the best laps I've ever seen on the F1 games.
If you wanted to take Mexico for a lap, use Yona's lap in TTML F2 tonight, because that was absolutely sensational. Really, really good, strong lap as well from Yona. Nathan Clark I'm on board with, though, coming in the middle sector, 55.5. He is responding slightly to Yona through the middle sector with a purple as he runs white coming through turn 12, and then through the the left-hander of 13, and then through the right-hander of 14, through the Ferrosol, and now in toward Paraltada. He's got to find 4/10 of a second in the final sector, and I don't think he will. Nathan Clark on the run to the line does find time in the end, a 14.2. Good lap from him. Nemo went third as well in the Mercedes. Volakongan is improving. Frankie Fro is not. He's obviously came off just his lap, 14.5. Volakongan the 10th up. Yona is literally the one to beat Tom across the line. Hasn't had a bad lap. Tibos now around the final corner on the run to the line, and he's crashing into the pit lane. Goodness me, into the wall he goes, and Tibos loses his front wing, and unfortunately for him, he's not going to improve as Volakongan now through the final corner runs over the front wing of Tibos, and he goes 7th. Volakongan there in 7th, 14.6. Very tight, I've got to say, between Tionas, Jorg and Volakongan. But in the end, Yona out on top, a comfortable 3/10 of a second ahead from Nathan Clark. Neymar over there in 3rd, and Jorg is just a distant car in the background. 6th position, 14.6. Yona's advantage coming into tonight, and possibly he could try and strike back on Jorg from last week.
Yeah, and I just have to add there with Jonas lap. I don't know who saw it, but I think it was last week. This one guy from F1 Esports I got into F2 for the upcoming season. So who's gonna call them about Jonah? Because someone get him in there. Come on.
Get him on up. I think QRT, obviously QRT have been part of our EML Premier Challenge Cup event in the last 2 Wednesdays. And honestly, if you want to ride on board with a lap, if you want to take a lap in Mexico, that's it there. A 13.9 from Yona. It was picture perfect, and possibly the best lap I've seen in qualifying all season. Yona out on top, Nathan Clark in 2nd, Neymar there in 3rd, Frankie Fro in 4th, Chionis in 5th, Jorg in 6th, Volakongan in 7th. In the end, top 7 separated by just under 7/10 per second. Tomo there in 8th, Simply Superman in 9th, Noisy ran off the top 10, Matt Tibos there in 11th, Honey Badger and Tom, both Toms in fact, didn't get a lap time in right down the back of the field, but Yona out on top, Nathan Clark in 2nd. In the end, Nathan Clark, we thought his was a good lap, and then Yona just sprung up with that, a 13.9. Yona is just in a completely different league here in TTML F2 since he has joined.
Sorry, I just had to mute myself for some coughing for COVID and stuff. But yeah, Jonah tonight is showing some. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless watching that, and of course knowing that we got such an entertaining race gonna get here. We're gonna start with some overcast here, some not so sunny anymore, and of course rain later in the race. And
Menno, by the way, in the comment section is trying to get a sly one in there, I think, on the strategy call from Yona last week in the feature race. Has Yona fired his engineer? if he hasn't fired his engineer, that's probably one of the best engineering feats I think I've seen in a qualifying session on this game so far in any F1 game. It was so unbelievable, that lap, and one to behold. Watch out for TTML F1, because I don't even think somebody will get close to that lap time in TTML F1, so who knows what is going to happen, of course, out on track tonight. Big thank you to everyone that is tuning in, of course. You can put your predictions in the comment section for the race. We will, of course, make our own predictions towards the end of the formation lap. But one thing to talk about, of course, here, Pariah, conditions completely different, cloud cover over the circuit, the set of soft compounded tyres aren't really going to work towards the top end of the guy's favour. Everyone else on a set of mediums, though, I think they're going to be laughing this up, because with the threat of rain, medium's probably the best tyre to be on at this early stage, obviously with the cloud cover over the circuit.
Yeah, of course, and we see that we got 4 drivers starting on the medium tyres, which is Superman, TTG Noisy, TTG Tivos, and TTG Honeybatcher. Tom starting P13 on soft, and of course top 8 on soft as well. And normally the tire strategy here would be a 2-stop soft, medium, medium, or soft, medium, soft, soft, something like that. But with the rain, of course, the drivers know more than us. They know if the rain is coming in about 10 minutes or 15 or 20 or maybe even 30 minutes. But at the moment, I think with 4 drivers or qualifying on medium, or at least 2 Superman and Noisy qualifying on mediums, I think starting on mediums would be the safest, because maybe Jeff says the race is going to come in 10 to 15 minutes, but it takes even longer, and then the soft tires can die out, but the medium tires can go a little longer. So mediums is probably the safest unless the rain comes in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm thinking, in theory, those set of medium compounded tyres runners, Simply Superman, Noisy, Matt Tibos and Honey Badger, have gone pretty much forward in terms of the road and in terms of their strategy. I think they are expecting the rain to come around halfway through the race, maybe just before that, maybe just before halfway through the race, and then, of course, from a set of mediums, they can switch on to a set of inters, which, of course, will be even better when the rain starts to fall. Tom, however, looks like his Jeff might be slightly different to the other Jeffs that are on the grid, of course. Tom, on a set of soft compounded tyre, I think he is expecting the rain to come slightly earlier, around lap 9, lap 10 perhaps, so it is going to be quite interesting to see how drivers get on, of course, with changeable conditions possibly incoming here in Mexico. But Pariah, I'm going to come across to you. Who on earth is your top 3?
I take Neymar P1, Jonah P2, and Volkong in P3.
Interesting. I'm going to go Yona for the win, just off that lap alone. I think he'll get it. Jorg, I think, will finish second, and Neymar will finish in third, but the 5 red lights are now going out here in Mexico at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, round 9 of the championship, and it is lights out and away we go. Nathan Clark gets a better start than Yona. Is he going to jump into the Supreme? No, he's actually side by side with them on the run towards turn 1. The McLaren, I think, is just going to have the side draft down in towards turn 1, with Frankie closing in quite quick as well, and they come squirming down in towards turn number 1. Yona leads the way, Nathan Clark in second, and Yona just about holds on to the lead, but Nathan on the inside line coming through turn 3. There's a little bit of contact. He is getting quite aggressive early on, is Nathan. There's a spinner further down the field. Simply Superman has spun on the curve through turn 2, and now Nathan Clark is fighting back on the outside line in towards turn number 4. He's going to have the traction on the inside line for 5. Is he going to get the move done? He is taking the fight to Yona early. Yona has slept off the start, and Nathan Clark leads the way from Yona there in second. Frankie Froh in third. Both teammates Mercedes side by side. There's a Haas going sideways as well. That was Volakongan, I think, making it 3 wide, with Honey Badger and Noisy coming through the S section. But Nathan Clark leads the way. Yona in second. Frankie Froh in third. We might have been laughing up his qualifying lap, but Yona slept off the start, and Nathan Clark got his elbows out and got the lead of the race.
Yeah, what a race start. I saw also the Mercedes drivers, the Norwegian and Dane, fighting for that P4. T-John has almost had it out of the hairpin in sector there, but he had a quick moment, lost run a little bit, lost position to Neymar and Jorg, as we also saw Volkong struggling there, losing many positions down to P12 now.
I course, Tama was spun coming through the final corner. He's done exactly what he did in qualifying and nearly reversed it into the pit lane. He's going to reverse back on track. Luckily, Matt Tibos is side by side with Volakongan on the run down in towards turn 1. Yona was closed up on Nathan Clark, but it wasn't quite close enough in towards turn 1. Tom launches one on Noisy just forward, further into this battle, and there's a sideways mount from Noisy, and he is spun, I think, more on the curb than anything. I'm not sure if there was contact there between himself and Tom. Noisy, though, sent round. He's down in P12. Matt Tibos in the end couldn't get the move done on Volakongan on that set of soft compound tyres. Volakongan, of course, and he remains in P9. Looking at the lead, though, Nathan Clark 6 tenths clear of Yona. On to lap 2 we go. Frankie Fro in third. Yona got outgunned by the start. Quite simply, the Haas was more potent on the start than Yona was. And Yona, of course, starting on the dirtiest side of the grid, now has to try and refocus. He is on the back of Nathan Clark, and these two are beginning to pull away from Frankie as well.
Yeah, interesting start we're getting in, and actually right now I think it looks like the sun is coming through the skies a little bit.
It is indeed. Oh, as Nathan Clark gets caught on the curb coming through turn 14. Goodness me, I do not know how that didn't get sent in for a spin. Half recovery there from Nathan Clark, but on the run in towards turn number 1, of course, there's going to be no DRS down in towards turn number 1 or turn number 4. It's going to be down in towards 13, but is Yona going to be close enough to try and have a go on Nathan Clark? No, he's just going to sit and wait in behind for now. Nathan Clark leads the way. Yona in second, Frankie Fro in third. Honey Badger, by the way, has had a very good start from further down the field. I think he qualified in 12th, if I'm not mistaken, and he is up 5 positions early. Tom as well, following the other Tom out on track. That's going to be quite interesting. The Alpine and the Red Bull, of course, 6th and 7th and 8th position, but Honey Badger doing well, and Tom doing well as well, and they have, of course, gained positions as a result of action that happened around them.
Yeah, Honey Badger had a real great start there, and he's on the medium tires as well, so getting a great start here is for really good from him. But you do have Tom right on the back of him, trying to challenge for that P7 here, and of course Tom will have an advantage on the soft tires, but Honey Badger is showing really great pace at the moment as Tom gets the first penalty of the evening, and I think that's the first of many.
Well, apart from the DRS train behind as well, that's in front of Tom as well, Honey Badger that is, 1.3 seconds though the gap. He's taken it quite consistent so far in terms of the mediums, but now, are we about to see the move for the lead? Nathan Clark is going to try and weave and break that toe desperately on the run towards someone, but you can see Yona, as there's a spinner through the middle set of the final sector, that's Tom, that's around right at the back of the field. Yona getting close, he is going to launch the move down the inside line. I thought he wasn't close enough. Dives it there the inside line, in towards turn 1. Now on the outside of 2, and that's respectful driving, I've got to say, from Yona there. Didn't want to try and force a bit of contact with his own rival, and now he's going to have the run once again in towards turn number 4. Nathan Clark leading the way, Yona in second, Frankie there in third, doing a good job. Neymar, though, looking considerably quicker than these guys, and of course he's right at the back of the top 4.
Tamo in the fit putting on the medium tires here, and do you think that those mediums are going to go to the rain, or will there be another pit stop for him?
I think they'll probably go to whenever. I mean, Tomo has been struggling. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually retires from the race, given how much he's been struggling out on track. He's doing a good job, though, there in 13th position. Of course, still going out on track. Of course, you can pick up points, as Honey Badger has picked up a 3-second penalty. However, Nathan Clark leading the way. Yona there in second. Frankie Fro in third. We've got that random boss back in the comment section by the looks on the run down and towards turn number 1. Yona on the back of Nathan Clark. He is going to probably get the run with even out using any deployment down the straight. Nathan Clark will try and defend. However, he's defending thin air as Yona flies past him down and towards turn 1, and Yona is through, and he is into the lead of the race. The QRT man now through on Nathan Clark, but Nathan actually gets a better run out of turn 3, and do you know what? If I can do something, I can do one better. Nathan trying to go all the way around the outside and towards turn 4, but Yona had the DRS there, and he is through, and he's into the lead of the race as Honey Badger has sent the car around coming through turn 3.
Yeah, it looks like you have had a moment out of the first few corners there. Luckily, really quick, back on track and staying in P11 right behind Simple Superman.
Yeah, behind Simply Superman and D. Neymar is really pushing Frankie as well. 3rd and 4th position, on board with the Mercedes, behind the Aston Martin. And Neymar's just a little bit slower than reacting to the DRS there than Frankie. Frankie pulled away by an extra 10th of a second there. And if Neymar was quicker, just getting his DRS on, he would have been pretty much right on the back of him, in towards the Ferrosol. I mean, I'm complaining, I'm just picking out very niggly things, but he is on the back of him, now coming through the right-hander of Peraltada. Yona, though, leading the way, and that is more like it. A 117.7. However, Nathan Clark has used up a lot more ERS than Yona at this stage. Yona's got 50% of ERS, Nathan Clark has got 20, and then behind as well, Jorg is going to have to try and make a crucial move here on Neymar, down in towards someone. Neymar's nearly overshot the corner, he nearly went into the back of Frankie there, but Yona leading the way, Nathan Clark in 2nd, Frankie Fro in 3rd. On settling down, it's been a very, very clean start to this race, and it's something that we have to love and behold as Jorg closes in once again on Neymar, down in towards turn number 4. Doesn't get the move done though.
Yeah, Neymar tried to push Frankie, but out of the last corner he had a real bad exit, which made Jorg starting to pressure him a little bit, and of course did get a pressure into turn 1, making him lock up and almost touching the back of Francie. But again, we see Neymar keep on the back, staying on the back of Frankie, and as I talked about earlier, I think Neymar is going to be one of the top drivers tonight. Of course, it's just a small DRS train that he's in the middle of, and yeah, I've driven a lot with him, and also my friends and started drive a lot with him, and every evening after he have left, they are like, oh my god, Neymar, he's such a great guy, such a great both on track and off track, and I gotta agree with them. So, of course, it's struggling a little bit now behind Frankie, gonna get challenged by Jorg now, but just wait late in the race.
Look at the speed of Jorg going past Neymar. Neymar's going to tuck back into the slipstream. Is he going to try and fight back down and towards turn 1? No, Jorg has taken that position. He's thrown it into P4. Crucial move, of course, in terms of that for the championship. Yona, at this stage of the race, as Tomo is retired out on track coming through turn 6, and that might deploy a safety car out on track. Right on cue, safety car is deployed. Yona out on top, Nathan Clark in 2nd, Frankie in 3rd, and now with the safety car out on track with Tomo crashing. I did say he might retire in the pit lane. I didn't think he'd crash out on track, unfortunately. We're getting towards the scene of the accident, and it looks like he's probably got caught on the outside curb coming through turn 6, and in fact there is no wheel off his car, which is quite interesting. So I think there might be more suspension damage rather than the actual from wing obviously coming off the car, but obviously the tyre not coming off the car. It's more probably suspension and brakes failure probably.
Well, as we passed him, on my screen at least, a wheel just fell down on its side, so I'm not sure if it's the game glitching, but one thing is, I'm really sure about top 8 on a soft down, they should do a pit stop.
Yeah, they should do a pit stop. I think on that set of softs, they've probably been forced a little bit earlier than expected. But I think in terms of, obviously the rain's going to be coming later on in the race, this is going to really spice things up. Everyone is into the pit lane. We're going to see a double stack as well from the Mercedes crew. Of course, that is Neymar and Sionis, 5th and 6th position. Nathan Clark, though, into the pit lane. Is he going to come out ahead of these guys? He's back into his pit box now. Yona is past him, and Nathan Clark remains there in P2. Frankie there in P3, Jorgen P4, and everyone coming out of the pit lane. Tom, interestingly, once again, going for a little bit of a split strategy. He's on to a set of soft compounder tyre. In fact, everyone has came in probably for a set of mediums. But Tom there, in P6, on a set of soft compounder tyres. Again, I think he thinks the rain is probably going to come earlier than expected.
Now, what we're seeing now is really interesting. We got Tom. He's the one driver that thinks, okay, the rain is going to come faster than we think. So he's going on the soft tires. Soft tires can go, they're good for 8 laps, okay for 10 laps, and they can go 12 laps, I would say, but then it's not the best one anymore. Then we got Jonah, Nate Clark, Frankie, Jorg, Neymar. We got Volkong and Tijanis, T-Bows, and Honbacher all going on medium, thinking, okay, we'll have a little bit more time here in the drive before the rain comes, and Tom is going to struggle. And then we got Stable Superman and Noisy, who thinks that the rain is going to come really late into the race. Probably what the weather forecast say, that it's going to come really late. But again, if I know the Co-Master game good enough, that rain will come early. But again, with Tom on soft, we're gonna have. I think I'm gonna have a little bit of high expectation from him right now, because on his strategy, he needs to push down the start to gain positions, and Of course, it won't be easy, but for him, try and get at least top 3. And at the same time, he have to save the tires and not push them too hard, especially through the second sector, I would say.
Yeah, you've got to consider as well and all that. Tom is halfway down the field in a DRS train underneath the safety car. So he's halfway down the field, but on that sort of soft compound tire, theoretically, he should be the quickest man out on track. But with that DRS train obviously coming into effect from what will be lap 12, going on to lap 12, or lap 11, final sector, lap 11, I should say. No, actually, no, I might be right, yeah, lap 12. I was originally right, goodness me, I shouldn't doubt myself. Tom, though, is in P6. Simply Superman, though, interestingly, I think he's got, obviously, the mandatory 2-stop out of the way. He's came in for that set of hards, put on a set of mediums. Nice call, that, I think, by Simply Superman. He's going to be on fresher tyres towards the end of the race. But, of course, all importantly, is that rain going to come, and when will it come out on track? Currently, lap 10, just coming on to Yona leading the way, Nathan Clark in second, Frankie Throw in third. But Simply Superman out of the pit lane there, on that set of medium compounder tyres, and I think that's probably the right call to do.
Yeah, as we also see in the chat here, we got Jakob, who is Roygaard driver in F5, cheering for his fellow Dane, Neymar here. And his fellow Dane, currently P5 on the medium, is probably going to get pushed hard by Tom at the start there. So it's going to be hard for him to try. I think it's going to be hard for Neymar to defend that position from Tom. Of course, with a tire advantage, especially at the start of the first few laps. Those softs are going to be so good on this track. I remember driving here a few, I think it was November I drove here, and the fresh soft tires on this track is the only thing I like about this track.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, Tom will be hoping to try and get up the field as the safety car will be coming in this lap. So, Yona, now the virtual Bern Marlander. He is now the virtual safety car, and he is going to control the pack. However, he will dictate the pace at around 40 miles an hour at this stage. Probably a little bit slower than actual expectations in terms of Yona's pace. He's normally quite on it in terms of the pace, but this is probably to get the run through Ferrasol into Peraltada. As literally as I say that, he's gone. Yona coming through Peraltada at 16 and out through 17. Takes 5th gear coming through the final corner, and that gets him a 7/10 run on towards someone ahead of Nathan Clark. Yona leads the way, Nathan Clark in second, Frankie Throw in third. There is a bit of a glitch, by the way, on the left-hand side. It's just corrected himself. Simply Superman wasn't updating in terms of the times, but now he's actually going to update in terms of the positions, because he's sauntered past Noisy as if he's not even there, down in towards turn 1. A free move for Simply Superman. Noisy, of course, on that set of odds. Maybe he should have followed him to the pit lane. Simply Superman through his into 11th.
Yes, and Tom didn't get the start here. Probably wanted still behind Neymar here, and Neymar struggling to keep in the back of Jorg. So from what I'm seeing right now, Tom has to get past very soon so he can keep on the back of Jorg and Frankie.
Well, Frankie looks like he's dragging Jorg along with him as well. 3rd and 4th position are getting away from Neymar. And Neymar on these set of mediums, he just hasn't got to grips with those set of mediums so far. But then Tom running through the dirty air is losing considerable amounts of time. Coming through the middle sector, Simply Superman picks up a 3-second penalty. Yona's still out on top, though, Nathan Clark in second. But what has happened is the front two have broken away. Frankie is barely within the DRS range of Nathan. Of course, they're not going to get DRS this time around. Yona is pushing Nathan Clark, and it looks to me these two have been the class of the field in qualifying, and again in the race so far it looks to me they're the class of the race as well, as Tom will try and close in on Neymar down in towards someone, but again not using any deployment is not a good sign, because he's not going to get the move done.
It isn't, and also Vol coming in. It's real close on the back here, only 5/10, so Tom needs to get the overtakes done now. As you see, it's really close now. Neymar gets a little bit better exit, but Tom here is coming now. Is going to go on the inside of Neymar. Who breaks late? It is Tom.
Wow.
And he gets the overtake done. Beautiful done there, down inside, and up to P5 now in front of the Mercedes.
And that is how you get past somebody that's on the same strategy as you, but on a different compound of tyre. Neymar looked like he locked up in towards turn 4 slightly, and Tom, the gap was there. He just sauntered through the gap, and he's into P5. Simple as you like, a little bit scribbly out of the S section there. But Yona leading the way, and Yona now beginning to find his rhythm. He got caught napping by Nathan Clark. He's responded to that by napping Nathan Clark in behind, and it's 7/10 per second as we go through Peraltada once again through the first third of the race here in Mexico in TTML F2. Yona leads the way, Nathan Clark in second, Frankie there in third. However, 3-second penalty picked up for Honey Badger coming out of Peraltada there as well. Nobody doesn't look like they're going to be close enough. For a Kongan maybe Neymar down in towards someone looking close, but no cigar because he's not using up any DRS. I think everyone's just content to be in the position that they are at the minute.
As we see here, Tom immediately got away from Neymar, having a 1 second gap as Neymar goes really wide. They're struggling now with Volkong right on the back of him now. No DRS at the moment, but at the end of this lap, or at the end when he gets in the third sector, they will start with DRS.
Yeah, Frankie picked up a 3-second penalty there, and I rode on board with Jorgen that, and honestly, that looked more of a correction than a 3-second penalty, so maybe Frankie has to try and get that one removed by the stewards. I don't think he will be able to, but it's certainly worth it. He's probably just picked up a warning there as well. And Jorg smells fresh blood, fresh Australian blood ahead of him as well. Frankie Froh there in third, Jorg in fourth, Tom in fifth, and now look at Neymar. He's being dragged all the way back into this. Frankie has really become the cork in the bottle. Front two are pulling away, and Frankie now is the one that is struggling for the pace at this moment in time, with Jorg now right on the back of him. And this, as I like to repeat on every single stream here in TTML, this has been the easiest overtake you will see all night, and potentially two, because Tom is closing in on Frankie rapidly as well, and he's also going to get the move. So 2 moves for the price of 1. Jorg through into P3, Tom 4 into P4. You buy 1, you get 1 free.
But now then, can Tom maybe get a good knock exit, and Jorg here, both of them got the ERS, not so much ERS for Tom, and he didn't get the best exit, so instead he keeps at P4, but still he's up up 2 places from when the safety car ended. And as you said, at the end there of second sector, Neymar managed to stay on the back of Tom, as you probably saw something happen.
Simply Superman just absolutely sent it so late on the brakes down the inside line, but he sort of half backed off the brakes basically, and then went for the throttle again, and still got the move done even with backing out the throttle. Very nice move that by Simply Superman. He's into 10th, and now Matt Tibos there in 11th, beginning to struggle in terms of his pace. Of course, he's got a lap older tyres than Simply Superman at this stage. It remains to be seen, though, of course, what happens during this race. Yona leading the way, 7/10 per second. Nathan Clark in second, leads to the class of the field at the minute. Is Nathan going to try and run at Yona down in towards turn 1? I don't think so. I think Tom is probably more likely to get past Jorg here, down in towards turn 1. And look, even with the deployment, he's got 6% of ERS. He's closing, but look, he's just derating down the straight, and now he has to go for the DRS and lunges it down the inside line in towards turn 1. And Neymar and Frankie are going side by side as well, and behind, lovely move though by Tom. He's Looney's into third for now. Neymar is Looney's into fifth. Frankie is dropping all sorts of positions further down the field. Jorgen's going to try and fight back at Tom. Tom though is into P3, and Neymar and Vola Kongan gain 2 positions as well on Frankie, who I think might have got a little bit of damage on the left side end plate, if I'm not mistaken.
Frankie struggled there a little bit, and I'm going to try to focus on his front wing and see if we can find anything. At the moment he's keeping on the back of Volkong, but yeah, it looks like Frankie is struggling a little bit maybe on these tires. Can't find any damage on his front wing, but of course there could be damage that's not visible for us.
Yeah, I think it's more winglet damage more than anything else, but it's still damaged nonetheless, and I think because of that, he is just struggling. I think he got obviously impacted, maybe with Volokong coming down the inside of him, in towards turn number 2 and 3, coming through the chicane, and that is why he might just have a little bit of side pod damage as well. But we might be totally enacted on this. or Jonas could try and get the move done on Frankie. Down in towards someone quite simply. He is on the back of him. 80% of ERS to use up. And Jonas is just sitting and waiting and harvesting that ERS as Jorg and Tom now fighting side by side through turn 3. And that is Jorg at his absolute finest. Gets the move done. Tom is going to fight back though. And with the side draft, it could give him the advantage in towards turn 4. Not quite. Jona still leading the way. Nathan Clark in second. But Jorg now into P3. And Jorg's march continues. Because I think those set of softs for Tom just starting to go off now.
And again, look at how much Jorg and Tom and the rest of the field is losing on the top of them. Now 4.5 seconds up to Nathan Clark and Jonah. And already we saw before this happened that they had an incredible pace, as Honey Badger has been around. But Jonah and Nathan Clark, incredible pace, and they're on another level tonight. They are like Hamilton never stepping, we're seeing here.
Yeah, it's really good to see, I think. Nathan Clark, it's really good to see. Jona leading the way, Nathan Clark in second, Jorgen third. That is purely, by the way, my voice starting to go. Not COVID or anything like that. So, Jona leading the way, Nathan Clark in second. Hopefully we'll see out the second half of the race as we did the first. Jona is now, though, under pressure from Nathan Clark. He's closing rapidly in towards someone, but again, Nathan not close enough. Somebody that is, though, is Jorg, overtaking the sister car, of course, the Red Bull against the AlphaTauri, and I think the AlphaTauri might just see this move down the inside line in towards 2 and out through 3. There's a little bit of contact between them both. Got caught on the curb, and now Neymar joins in the fray, and we could have a 3-wide scenario down in towards turn number 4. Tom is going to be boxed in here. Neymar's going to be boxed in on Tom if he's not careful, but nobody cares because Neymar has just sent it all the way around the outside of Tom. Tom just got misconfigured there in terms of his setup coming through turn 4, but Jorg through into P3, Neymar through into P4, and that was simply sublime.
Yeah, beautiful driving there, Neymar up to P4, and as you were talking about last lap, Tom's tires are probably at the end now, as it looks like he have been pushing a lot, so gonna be hard for Tom now as the sun is still shining and doesn't look like the rain is coming anytime soon. I think we'll still can go about 10 laps maybe.
Thomas spun once again, that is Honey Badger I should say, round once again coming through turn number 12. And unfortunately for him, he's down in P12 as well, so really omens, and I think he's nearly spun the car again. Nathan though again, on the back of Jona, doesn't get close enough, he's just putting Jona into full centered at this stage. Jonas though is flying past Frankie, down in towards someone, gets the job done, and now he latches onto the back of the DRS train in 7th. So Jonas Thuney's into 7th, Frankie there in 8th, and Frankie's the one that's struggling in terms of his pace. Tom as well, on that sort of soft compounded tire. We thought, the AWS graphic certainly said, between lap 10 and lap 12 for their first stint. Of course, the safety car proved them to be a little bit sooner. Tom, with that sort of soft compounded tyres, do you think it was the wrong call in the end to go on that sort of softs?
It doesn't look like it was the best choice at the moment, putting on those soft. And now I'm getting a little bit confused because now we see Honey Badger putting on fresh hard tires. And with fresh hard tires halfway in the race, when is the rain coming? Because I would imagine him putting on soft if you had to do a pit stop, or medium if you had to do a pit stop now.
He was on a set of mediums, so I don't think that is why he can use it. I think Honey Badger has been on, we can't see it actually on the spectator cam unfortunately, but Honey Badger I think has pitted in for 2 sets of medium compounded tyres if I'm not mistaken, so that is why he is now down in P12, and obviously with those spins and back into the pits he has to use up that set of hards because simply he might not have any medium tyres left.
Yeah, I'm in the race director checking right now, and he's on the medium hard. So that was my bad, and you're right there. That's the reason he's on the hard tires. Then it gives sense.
He picks up another penalty as well, does Honey Badger? Yeah, and Frankie picks up another penalty as well. In terms of the penalty scenario, we are halfway through the race, so I'm going to give you a look in now. 3 seconds worth for Nathan Clark, so Jona holds a technical 3-second buffer, really, over Nathan, even though the gap is 0.3 per second, and Nathan is pushing Jona quite hard through the SA section. Jona leading the way. Other penalties, of course, Jorg on 3 seconds, Tom on 3, along with Frankie Fro, Simply Superman, and Noisy on 6, and then Honey Badger Badger on 15 seconds, trying to channel his inner Lewis Rocks, I think, from last week in terms of getting disqualified in the sprint race. Hopefully that is not going to be the case, and hopefully Honey Badger does get to the end on that set of hard-come banner tyres. And it's interesting actually, because I thought we would have had the rain. I said about halfway through the race we would have the first inkling of rain beginning to come down. No sign of it at the minute, and the further we go into this race, the less likely it is it's actually going to rain at all.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, I would have at least thought that we would have some more overcast now instead of the sun shining, but yeah, here we are, over halfway in the race, and the sun is shining, so I'm waiting for to see when the rain comes. And for Tom, it doesn't look good right now, because I think he'll soon have to do a pit stop and get him some other tires.
Yeah, Honey Badger's gone round again, coming through the S section, through turn 9, and unfortunately for him, it's noisy as well by the time with Matt Tibbles further down the field, further up the field, I should say, 10th and 11th, just the position above this battle, and noisy through and he's into P10, Tibbles there in P11, and another spin for Honey Badger, puts him in the wall, front wing damage as well, and it's a VSC to clear up the damage. It could be deployed to a full safety car. He's got no front wing at all, coming through the right-hander of turn 12, and now Honey Badger into the pit wall, and he's nearly into the wall of Peril Tartar, coming out of 16. That was nearly Bottas-esque coming through there, albeit at a slower speed. He's into the pit lane, 5-second penalty, and he's probably going to retire out of the race. And I think, who would blame him, I think, at this stage?
Well, this could save Tom, though, but sometimes the VC can go for over a lap.
Nathan Clark is into the pit lane.
What?
This is interesting. Nathan Clark into the pit lane. VSC is still out. Is Nathan going to be... Has Nathan timed this to perfection? I don't think he has. He's on a set of soft compound tyres, so clearly he thinks there's going to be no rain towards the end of the race, and that might be the case, of course. Yona, though, has missed, I think, an opportunity to try and cover off Nathan Clark. Because Nathan now, on that sort of soft compound tyre, he might have a wall of cars in front of him, but remember, if the rain comes, they're all going to have to pit in anyways. And Nathan, in the end, on that sort of soft compound tyre, he's on the fresh set, he's 11 laps fresher compound tyre compared to the guys ahead. That, in the end, has worked out absolutely perfectly for him.
Yeah, and also, as you see by now, Tom went under the medium, Neymar went medium, and Volkongen went soft, and all these drivers were right at the back of each other, and right as they came out of the pit, the versus edge car ended. So perfect timing for these drivers then, and I think Volkongen is going to push a lot now to get past these drivers, as we saw Tom did when he was on the soft tires. And in worst case, if no rain, these Haas drivers, I think they can take the soft tires to the end. It won't be easy, but with tire management, they could get it to the end. And I do know my good friend Volkongen, he is a god when it comes to time management.
And he's a god for overtaking as well, because he's absolutely outdone Tom coming through turn 11 into the right-hander of turn 12. Easy as you like. That was nicely negotiated, nicely timed, I've got to say, by Volkongen. Please do more of the same in future weeks. He's through and he's into P9. Tom there in P10. And Nathan Clark is already going to get through on Matt Tibbles. I think it's a side draft running down the straight. Is Matt Tibbles still going to be in contention? Just about coming in towards someone, but Tibbles breaks earlier than Nathan Clark. And Nathan Clark is through and he's into P6. Next up on the target list is Noisy, of course. Noisy driving with COVID, and I've got to say, well done to him for driving with COVID and still continuing on in this race. He's going to defend hard, but Nathan Clark has absolutely outdone him, nearly around the outside. Noisy fights back, though. He might have COVID, but he certainly doesn't want to give up a fight here with Nathan Clark. And Nathan, though, with the fresher tyres, is through and he's into 5th. It was a fight worth fighting, but in the end, of course, on that to the softs, Nathan Clark considerably quicker, and he's through and he's into 5th.
And for just to finish what I was saying earlier about Volkongen and tire management, James, you may remember 2 years ago when we was in F1 2019 on Hockenheim, and I remember everyone would do like a medium hard, and even that would be hard. And Volkongen, he would do a soft medium.
And I think he lasted, if I'm not mistaken, in that race, what, 20 odd laps, I would say, in that race?
I'm not totally sure about that.
I don't know. Well, we can keep guessing, I think, with that one. Sionis, though, is not going to keep guessing with this move on Jorg. He's through and he's into P2, and now Jorg is dropping points on Yona. But what is interesting, actually, because that VSE came out at a really good point for both Volkongen and Nathan, both Hassers. what are the guys in a set of medium compound tyre going to do? Nathan Clark is closing rapidly, he's in clear air, and he can now put the hammer down to close in on Frankie and Jorg without using too much of his tyres. Do the guys on a set of mediums still have to pit another time?
I would think so. Getting those mediums to the end. Possible? Yes. Easy? No.
I think that answers pretty much everyone's question as Frankie is off coming through turn number 11, and now Nathan Clark will saunter by. So that's a free position actually for Nathan on Frankie. Frankie made a mistake coming through turn number 10 and 11. Took to the outside curb though, he did rejoin track safely, and he let Nathan Clark through, and I think it was probably not worth a fight. A fight worth fighting, to be honest. Nathan Clark through, he's into P4, bangs in the new fastest lap. He's 1.1 seconds quicker than Yona. He's 1.5 seconds quicker than everyone else on the field. Nathan Clark, it's pretty much now a race between the tortoise and the hare, to be honest, because Yona in this case, as Volakongan responds now, new fastest lap of the race. Yona 8.6 seconds clear. In terms of the leader, it's 12.3 seconds. Nathan Clark is closing around 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap. Nathan, though, has got traffic to negotiate, but also, if he remains behind Honey Badger this lap around, he's going to get a free bout of DRS, which is going to close him up even further.
Looking at Matthew Bowes right in the back of Noisy, and who did it say, was it Noisy who had COVID?
Yeah, Noisy's got COVID, unfortunately, and honestly, he could have easily backed out of this race, and I would have said probably rest is probably the better thing, because obviously you've got COVID as well, Pariah, if nobody knew. Pariah does have COVID. Luckily, he's feeling a lot better, and that's why he's alongside me here tonight. But Noisy, it's one thing to commentate on a race with COVID, it's another thing to drive a race with COVID, and I can only imagine what pain I think Noisy is probably going through at this stage. But he's doing a good job. He's driving in P6, and I think he's driving as well as he would ever do, even if he didn't have COVID.
Yeah, I can. I'm out of isolation today, of course, but I'm still a bit sick. Great, but I can, as we see, Noisy is going to get overtaken. But yesterday I did a league race myself, and I can confirm for Noisy that league racing with COVID is one of the hardest league races to do ever. It's like to sit there for a little bit of an hour and just focus on the screen. Normally, of course, you just get a easy eye contact with the screen and no problem. But sitting there with some maybe coughing a little bit, maybe a sore throat and headache and all that, it gets so hard just focusing on that. And especially, of course, it's not just some people who say, okay, you're just turning a wheel or a controller or whatever you drive with. But it is more than that. It's focusing on screen, focusing on throttle, braking zones. Maybe you suddenly get an oversteer and have to straighten up, and yeah, it's much harder than you would think.
Yeah, it's definitely much harder. Yona, by the way, we did say those mediums were going to come in, and actually it's a VSC. It's a VSC, and that, I don't think, is fortunate. Honey Badger has crashed out on track. It might be a full safety car, actually. Nathan now takes the lead of the race, Theory out on track. Jonas, though, leading the way. Nathan Clark in second. Yona came into the pit lane before that VSC was deployed. That has turned out to be probably one of the luckiest pit stops you could probably ever have. Safety car as well out on track brings it more into play for Yona. Wow, wow, wow. 11 laps to go. Jonas leading the way. Nathan Clark in second. Yona in third. A second safety car out on track. Honey Badger, of course, crashing through the exit of turn 12, I think it was, where he crashed. So he's brought out the safety car. And Yona, in theory, is now quicker than Nathan Clark and is now put exactly in the same scenario as what Nathan Clark did on the first lap of the race.
But let me just say how lucky T. Jones was now, because he didn't pit, and Jonah pitted, of course, when the VSC was out. Then the safety car comes out, which saves T. Jones, because of course everyone still has the delta to follow. So now T. Jones can go into the pit without losing too much time. If he decides to pit, though, if not, since he's already set out, maybe he was planning staying till rain comes. But it's only 10 laps left, and the sun is still shining as T. Jones says into the pit.
Yeah, to be honest, into the pit lane. He could have tried to stay out, but on 16-lap mediums, they're probably going to be going, unless you've got the best tyre wear of anyone on the grid, which I think Jonas normally does have, but Volokongan, I think, takes him for that award. But Jonas, in the end, is going to come out, I think, in P3, because Noisy is into the pits. Volokongan is around the final corner, and Jonas is going to be in P4, actually. So he's going to rejoin in P4, and that is very handy for the Mercedes driver. Of course, his teammate Neymar is into the pit lane as well. He's going to be out ahead of Tom. York there in P5, Noisy in P6. AlphaTauri at the minute, of course, doing enough to wrap up the constructors here tonight, but 5th and 8th position underneath the safety car. Yoga's got a lot of time to find on Yona, first and foremost, for the drivers. But in terms of AlphaTauri's consistency this season, I've got to be honest, this race so far, it hasn't gone according to plan, and they haven't really looked that consistent tonight.
Now we see everyone on the soft tires. Nate Clark on all soft tires. Of course, he can get them to the end, but he's gonna in 5 laps, he's gonna struggle, and everyone else is gonna have good tires except Volkong as well. I noticed now he also pitted with Nate Clark a few laps ago. So the 2 house drivers, the only thing that can save them now is the rain.
Which, luckily, with, what, 10 laps to go, perhaps, it might not come. It might not come. I really do not think it's going to come towards the end of the race. I prepare to be listened to, and I prepare to take one on the chin, really, if I get this wrong. But looking at how far we are in the race, we've got, really, in terms of dry running, if it was to rain around lap 32, we've got another 5 or 6 laps worth of dry running before it is too late for the rain to impact on the track. So, for me, as long as it stays dry, the next 4 or 5 laps, we are dry running throughout this whole race and towards the end.
Yeah, doesn't look like we're going to get much rain now, but of course, it could get happen at, of course, as Neymar said, Russia, maybe, that would be interesting.
As Michael commentator goes for a little bit of a cough there. Are you fine now?
Sorry. I like that. I just had to. So I think I should turn off the microphone if that's going to be air rape for you.
It's not. It was silent. I think it was silent. It was covered by the northern tones of me, I think.
Well, so of course, safe car still out. We're waiting for Simple Superman to catch up, and I think there's we may get the safe car in this lap because Simple Superman is not so far behind right now to catch up to the rest of the guys.
Yeah, of course, he's on that set of soft compounder tyre as well. Well, I say that, everyone's on a set of soft compounder tyre. But Nathan Clark, 6 laps he has been on that set of soft compounder tyre. Yona has only been on those 1 lap. And he came into the pit lane with a very fortuitous pit stop, I've got to say, in the end, because the VSC obviously got deployed as the safety car is going to come in this lap. The VSC got deployed basically when it was just about coming into the pit lane. So Yona couldn't have timed that any better as if he was to put money on it. I'm sure his engineer would have put money on the safety car, on the VSC to be deployed and then to go to full safety car, but it's worked out in Yona's favour completely. And I think we're going to see a different side to Yona now. I think he's going to attack Nathan down towards turn 1, and Yona's probably going to lead for the rest of this race. And look at how close he's getting the re-wing. His intentions are clear as he nearly goes into the back of him coming through Peril Tada. Goodness me, he doesn't want to do that, but Nathan very late, and now he says he's going. He's caught actually Yona napping, but on the run down in towards turn 1, Yona is going to have a significant advantage, not only on the tyres, but also on the slipstream. It's 3 wide in the background as well. It's 5 wide in the background. Goodness me, Yog, Noisy, Tibos, Jonas and Frankie going 5 wide down in towards turn 1. It's 3 wide through turn 1, and somehow Noisy has came out on top of that into 4th. There's a bit of contact. Yog and Frankie getting a little bit contacted as well. Nathan, though, has been overtaken by Yona and all that, so Yona leads the way. Nathan Clark in 2nd, Volokongan in 3rd. That 5 wide moment, I don't think I've ever seen it in Mexico, ever. It was absolutely insane, and insanity from the drivers. somehow, they all kept it clean. There's still a bit of argy-bargy further down. Neymar getting his elbows out on Tommy's through, and he's into P9. And now Tom, down the inside line, is going to try and repay back the favour coming through the S section. No way! Down the inside line into the S section, he has to take avoiding action, does Neymar, but it's still side-by-side through 10 and 11. Too wide, doesn't really fit through here. Noisy picks up a penalty further up the field, and now Neymar and Tom are still side-by-side. In towards turn number 12. And Tom and Neymar are still side by side as Tom gets a run off track there slightly by Neymar. 3-second penalty. Simply Superman just sitting behind waiting. Go on, guys, have a bit of contact. Still into the final quarter. Not going to work. They both get sent round, and it's pretty much like Noisy and Gary all over again from a couple of seasons back here in Mexico. The last time we came here, they both contacted, and unfortunately, that was inevitable.
James, you want to know what that reminded me about those two fighting?
Oh,
it's Noisy! Nathan Clark is around!
It's getting aggressive now. It's getting very aggressive now, I've got to say, out on track. Jonas and Volakongan running the slipstream of Noisy. And Noisy remains in second position for now. Volakongan third, Jonas in fourth. But drivers, if you're listening to the stream, calm it down.
Yeah, I was agreed there. As I was saying, Neymar and George fighting there reminded me of something you commentated many seasons ago. Me and Frey Pepper around Bahrain, side by side for so long, and looking at Neymar and George making it work through the S section was amazing. That they were of course touching a few times, and it sadly ended with a spin for Georg. But I'm not surprised because the second and third sector side by side, especially the third sector with the corners, it's so tight. It's not easy with two side by side there.
And obviously Jorg is there down in last position in terms of the point scoring positions. Jonas is going to get past Volakongan into P3. Nathan Clark is into the pit lane as well, so I'm not sure if he's picked up damage possibly as a result of those incidents. Jonas, though, down in towards someone, does get the move done on Volakongan. So both TNL boys through, and they're into P3 and 4 respectively. Jonas through, getting the move done on Volakongan. He's through on that fresher compound tyre. He is through and he's into P3. We're probably not going to get rain towards the end of the race now. Somebody might have been having a joke with me possibly in the comment section with that one. Yona, though, leading the way, 3.8 seconds, and Jorg is going to be out ahead of Nathan. And I'm looking at the point system here, because it was a 33-point advantage that Yona had to try and claw back on Jorg. At this moment in time, with the fastest lap points as well in play, Yona will take 31 points. 31 points, and Jorg will only take 10 points. So, in theory, the battle for the win, the battle for the championship is going to go down to the final race. Ference is still included in that as the de facto, possibly in P2, the de facto second position. But the gap to me is going to be 12 points going into the final round of the season between Yona and Jorg. And this time, unlike in real life, it is not a Brit and a Dutchman. Two Dutchmen fighting it out for the championship win.
Well, at the moment, as you say, it looks like next Thursday is going to be a really interesting race for the final at, is it Singapore?
Singapore, yeah. Singapore. Who on earth chose that as a finale track for TTML Season 6? I do not know. Maze, we are blaming it on you, my friend. Yona leading the way, Noisy in second, Jonas in third. Maze is now probably going to cancel the stream, I think, as a result of that comment. Nathan Clark, however, flies past Jorg, and in fact now Jorg is down into 11th position, so still chopping and changing. And currently, he's only going to be picking up 9 points. So the gap is 22 points advantage, but Nathan Clark picks up another penalty. And that was costly because they were on the same amount of penalties before that. Nathan Clark, still P10, Jorg there in P11. And Jorg now in a position where he is going to be losing 21, possibly 22 points from tonight. And that just comes to show, we saw it earlier on with qualifying and Yona, how consistent he was and how consistent he's been this season. Yona, since he has joined this league, has picked up, 4 out of the last 5 wins, I think. And he has done such a great job, and it looks like, once again, with only 5 laps to go, he's going to be on for another one here.
is looking really good. As we get a confirmation in the chat that Kirby T is here, so we have to watch out. But as I said, I gotta admit, Singapore, I like to track. Season final, I remember we had a few seasons ago in TTML, and I commentated a championship decider there, and I think it kind of worked, but you have to have more drivers than 13 drivers. It has to be almost full grid to get an exciting race at Singapore. If not, this field is going to get spread up easily fast, and the racing is going to get a little bit boring. It's also a really long race. But I'm one of those guys who wants Abu Dhabi as a season final, so I don't know what my voice is in this is. But Singapore, decent, is a real low track, the season final? Not so sure.
Well, obviously we do run a rotational calendar here between seasons in TTML, and that is why we've got the calendars we have it this season. I'm looking at the cloud cover, by the way, and I am thinking, you know what, it might rain still before the end of this race. It's starting to cloud over considerably out on track. I think by the end of this lap it'll go pretty dark, and we might get the first spots of rain in lap 34, possibly 35. There was a spinner through the final sector. It's Nathan Clark who was retired. Nathan Clark is retired. Could we get a late safety car, perhaps, out on track? I really hope so, but I don't think we will. Lap 33 and 36. We're only going to have the safety car out for a lap if we are going to get one. But looking at it, green flag racing, we're not going to get a safety car, unfortunately. I wish we did, because that could have ended up to be a really exciting finish.
That would have been really exciting. And as we see, the sun is disappearing a little bit behind into more skies.
Neymar lunged one on Tibble. Sorry to cut you off, but Neymar lunged one on Tibble, standing towards turn number 4. Got the move done. Slight bit of contact, but in the end, Neymar had 3/4 of the car ahead of the Red Bull, and he is through and he's into 7th position. As literally exactly what I said about 30 seconds ago in terms of the cloud cover has happened.
Yeah, look how dark it is out on track now, and I think we'll get a few drops on lap 34. And then the question is the drivers going to go in the inters? Is the rain going to get cleared that fast, or are they going to stay on a drive to the end?
Unless it's heavy rain, we are going to get dry running. Well, I think even with heavy rain, we're going to get dry running to the end, because nobody wants to lose their position out on track. If you are somebody like perhaps Jorg further down the field, you come in for a set of inters. If it is going to rain, you come in for that set of inters and see if you're going to try and gain time. But with only 3 laps to go, it's not worth it. Just stay out on track and pick up the points that everyone is going to be picking up currently. Yona leading the way, Noisy in 2nd, Tionas in 3rd. But Noisy, of course, with that 12 seconds worth of penalties, he's going to be dropping behind Tionas, Volakongan, perhaps Frankie, perhaps simply Superman as well, and all of that. So Noisy could end up halfway down the field, considering he's finished 2nd in this race. It hasn't been entirely 100% clean, I've got to say, this race here in Mexico. But for the action that we've been worth, Pariah, you always come here and seems to be that the action just rockets up a gear. And I think we've had that tonight again here in Mexico. Yona leading the way. Noisy, though, on a lap fresher tyres, is not done with. He's gained another 2-3 tenths a lap. Yona sitting back on this one. I think he realises, obviously, he's got to try and back up Noisy back into Tionas, and I thought I saw a spit of rain there, but I didn't in the end.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of action here tonight, and still no rain here as we go into lap 35, so probably going to stay on these tires to then. But also Volkong in 14 laps on those soft, can't be easy as we get T-Johns past Noisy and Simple Superman past Frankie.
Yeah, we saw that with Jonas get the outside line in towards turn 1. Noisy just pulled off to the right hand side, just slowed down the throttle, let him through, and to be honest, that's the right decision to do. But when you are, when you've got penalties, of course, further down the field that are less than you, I think Noisy's got to try and up the pace again, because he wants to stick with Jonas here. He wants to try and stick with Jonas if he's got a chance of finishing in the top 5. If not, that little slowdown has probably cost him a few tenths per second and could land him outside of the top 5 in the end.
And what I've been looking at is the penalty situation, that we have 3 drivers without penalty this whole race. Chona, T-Johns, Volkong in, and at the moment maybe Volkong can get a podium from Simple Superman as the rain has arrived on the second last lap, or as we saw the last lap.
It's the final lap of the race. I said it would come about 5 laps before the end. I didn't mean it to come on the final lap of the race, unfortunately. But Yona leads the way, 2.3 seconds. Jonas now hasn't got the tyres to try and live with Yona at this stage in the race, and it seems like it is going Dutch once again. The Mexican Grand Prix, like in real life. Yona coming around the final lap of this race, leading the way, 2.3 seconds. Jonas there in second, Noisy in third. Tibos, though, not giving up on the back of Neymar. Further down the field, Neymar fighting with Tibos. Tibos will once again have a run in towards turn 4, but with a run like that coming out of turn number 3, doesn't set up well. Down in towards turn number 4. Is he going to try and get the move done, though? No. Neymar stays in 7th, Matt Tibos in 8th. However, there has only been one man that we can ride on board with for the remainder of this race. It is Yona, of course, coming through the final sector, into the final sector now. He is it hasn't been his own way. There's been so many races recently where Yona hasn't had his own way, but he's still yet proved to be a dominant force here in TTML F2, and this has been one of those drives that has epitomised that, as Yona now comes through the final 2 corners, through Peraltada for the final time. Yona is a Mexican Grand Prix winner in TTML F2. Yona wins once again, Jonas in second, Noisy in third, but he's not going to be there because Volakongan is going to jump up positions. Simply Superman in the end is behind him, Frankie in the end is behind him, and I think the rest of the field will be behind him as well. So Noisy in the end has finished 4th, very favourably in the end to finish 4th. And Frankie there in 5th, Simply Superman in 6th, Neymar, Tibos, Tom LD, and Jorg coming around the final corner. Championship might have just slipped away from him now, coming across the line to finish in 10th in the end. But I still think the AlphaTauri team have wrapped up the constructors' standings because they had such a margin to the team in second, and I will confirm that in a second. But drive of the day, what about the in-game fans? Noisy. I think from us, only one man, surely.
I think many drivers did a great night, and for me, I want to say Jonah, but also I have to agree in the game a little bit. Noisy, P4, best of the rest, and with COVID.
Yeah, fantastic drive from Noisy. Obviously, he might have not even raced tonight. He said he was going to struggle, but in the end, he struggled enough to finish in P4. It was a fantastic result from Noisy. Really epitomises his personality, really, to continue on in the face of adversity, in the face of COVID, and still getting P4. I tip my hat off to you, my friend. But Yona has won 15.9 in the end as fast as that, so he does get 31 points in the end. Jonas there in second, Volakongan in third. Of course, this is all provisional at this stage. Noisy in 4th with Frankie Fro in 5th. Simply Superman in 6th, Neymar in 7th. Tibos in 8th, Tom LD in 9th, and Jorg rounding off the top 10. However, in terms of the point system, Yona gets 21 points on Jorg as a result of tonight. Jorg will not be coming in for an interview as well. Nathan Clark there in 11th, Honey Badger and Tom are all out of the race at various stages. Yona though wins, Jonas in second, Volakongan in third. Shall we try and get the top 3 in?
We can do that. I can ask them in the Discord.
Fantastic stuff indeed. Matt Tibos saying in the Discord, by the way, that league racing is so cruel. It is for the best of us, I've got to say. But a fantastic race, I've got to say, here in TTML F2 tonight. F3 as well. Yana apparently had minus 0.72 of fuel with 6 laps to go in TTML F3, and Sway won his first race win in 2 years, either in TTML or just in league racing in general, but it's his first win in 2 years, which is unbelievable.
And also, as a fellow Norwegian, I have to be happy for my Norwegian 2-3 podium, or second and third on podium as well, so really happy to see the Norwegian flag up there.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, honestly, Jonas and Volakongan drove really good races, really strong races as well. They got the strategy call right at the end. We didn't have, of course, any safety car towards the end of the race, obviously, with Nathan, of course, crashing out through the final sector, which would have spiced things up, I think. If it was a lap earlier, we would have got a safety car, and we would have had a 2-lap sprint race, basically, towards the end of the race. Tom LD as well. I totally epitomised this comment, by the way, in the Discord. So much for the supposing increase in quality with fewer drivers. I've got to be honest, driving standards fell a little bit short, especially after that second safety car restart. It was a bit aggressive. It was a bit nonchalant, to be honest, I think, from the drivers. And obviously, this is F2. You're not the top tier. You're certainly not F5, which of course Pariah commentates on. But the driving standard tier, I think F5 could probably do a bit better.
It'll be interesting tomorrow to see F5 drive here. I'm not sure how many drivers there are going to be. But of course, there was some good racing today. We have 5 wide heading down towards turn 1. So if I see something like that tomorrow, I'm going to lose my voice.
You nearly lost your voice here tonight in TTML F2, so goodness knows how you're going to be feeling tomorrow in TTML F5. And of course, you can catch that live on the League Racing TV channel, and I will come on to that, of course, at the end of the stream. But we do have at least 2 of our interviewers here tonight. It is, of course, the man of the moment, another race win for QRT Yona. And Yona, after that feature race in France last week, I think that well and truly makes up for it.
Oh man, whew. It's one thing I don't want, and let's talk about last week, okay?
Well, shall we talk about qualifying first and foremost? Because we said in commentary, and you might have heard it as well from your engineer, that was probably the best lap around Mexico I think I've ever seen.
Oh, you did? Yeah, it's. I mean, into the 13s. I'm happy with it. There was maybe just like a little tenth more in it, and that would be my TTPB as well. It's 0.8, I think, right now. But in general, it was definitely a good lap and definitely pole worthy as well.
Yeah, definitely pole worthy, and I think nobody was even close to actually getting into that lap time, and certainly getting, of course, into the 13s like you did. It was fantastic, of course, to see.
And it's actually true that my engineer said it as well. You're clear by, I think it was 4 tenths, he said. So amazing lap.
It was a brilliant lap, 3 tenths ahead of Nathan, and we thought Nathan's lap was good. But you just proved to me that was probably the best lap. And do you know what? I think that might give F1 a run for its money in terms of qualifying with that lap, because it was just absolutely brilliant. And hopefully it is one of those laps that can go in the history books here in TTML F2 and say that was an absolutely fantastic lap. Talk us through the race though, especially that second safety car restart, because you, in the end, I don't know how, the VSC came out, obviously, for Honey Badger's crash coming through the middle sector, and you, fortuitously, I think, got the safety car just about when you were coming into the pit lane.
So the thing was, the VSC, the earlier VSC, so around lap 19 it was, I think?
Yeah.
I was discussing with Luca when to pit. And the VSC came out, and we were like, do we pit? And I had a gut feeling like, nah, it's too early. I gotta do 16 laps on the softs. I have fresh softs, but they were gonna be terrible at the end. And Nathan did the opposite. He pitted, so that instantly gave me the thought, okay, I'm going a little bit longer, I'm going lap 25, sort of, and just catch up. He's gonna have very bad tires at the end. And while we were in lap 24, we're debating a bit, and he said, just go this lap, we're pitting this lap. I said, okay, starting to push a little bit more, use some ERS. When I came into the stadium section, I saw yellow. I think that was around the time I was in the stadium section, but I thought I saw him carry on, so I thought, okay, well, I'm still gonna pit. Went into the pits, and VSC came out, so it was absolutely crucial because I came out in P3, and otherwise I would have came out in like P5 or something like that. But I came out in P3, and it got changed to a full safety car, so I immediately started to extremely save the tires because I got fresh softs. And
oh, he's just suddenly left. I'm not sure if there's a disconnection going on here for Yona. Hopefully he might be able to rejoin back. I hope he hasn't pressed the wrong button.
Could be at that time. I'm going to send him a message and try to find out what have happened. But of course, it's either push the wrong button or maybe something with his internet.
I can only think it's gone off so suddenly. It's probably his internet that's probably either been turned off by parent. Oh, actually, he's now back. So Yona was
Where was
back.
I?
You didn't press the wrong button there at all, did you?
No. I just it's a problem with my internet connection that it suddenly can disappear out of nowhere. It's freaking frustrating. But where was I? I got fresh tires. I knew save him a bit. I need to do a few laps on him. Get past immediately, create a gap, and then chill. At one point I got my second warning, so that was the point I was starting to lose more and more time to the guys behind me because I was really just minding my own business, just don't get an extra warning, and cruise to the finish line.
Yeah, you cruised the finish line indeed, and it was still an absolute phenomenal drive, I think, from your perspective, in terms of obviously that safety car coming out, and obviously you overtaking Nathan, and it was very crucial to get that move done, of course, on Nathan, because not only you got that move done, you've pulled the gap now to York from 33 points, it is now only 12 points going into the final round of the championship between you and Jorg. Pariah, I'm going to come across to you before I ask him the inevitable question, unless you're going to ask it for me.
To Jonah, what I just would like to say is that qualifying lap had me wordless. I got speechless. I mean, it was just insane. And as I told James, remember we recently saw that guy get from F1 Esports to F2, and I think you'll be the next guy right there.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it very much.
That's very high praise coming from an F5 commentator, by the way.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it, man. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Well, that lap was just insane.
Yeah, and if only you could do a full season of TTML as well. You joined fourth round in, I think.
Yeah,
and now
so I missed the first 3 races. Yeah.
And now you're in a position where you are, well, you've gained 31 points, so you're on 161 points. Jorg is on 173 points. Ference is somehow still leading the championship lead after this race as well. But going into the final round of the championship, of course, technically it's between you and Jorg going into the final round of the championship, with Ference, of course, not going to be making it. How do you approach that final race of the season, and how on earth do you get that championship win?
I need to win, and preferably with the fastest lap. Jonas can get, Jorg can't get a podium. That's everything. He needs to get P4 17 points. I need to gain, I need to gain 13 points. So if I win with the fastest lap, 31 points minus. I'm sorry, I'm making it too complicated.
But basically what I think you're trying to explain is you win the race and he finishes 4th, basically.
Yeah, maximum 4th for Jorg. Yeah, exactly.
And anything lower than that, you will take on the chin, I think.
Of course. I've already won to my feeling. Okay, that's a step too far, but I drove incredibly well, apart from last week in this league, and I'm very proud of it. I'm looking forward to next season to just try and dominate the whole season.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic, of course, to see how you get on. If you are going to be signing up, of course, next season, I think you will be placed, of course, in F2 again next season. But with that, I will go and let you enjoy your evening.
Well, thanks, mate, and I'm gonna enjoy the comps for sure, and you guys also have a lovely evening.
You are very welcome indeed, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of satisfaction watching that lap back.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
And of course, we'll now move on to the man, of course, who finished in P2, and that was, of course, Jonas. And Jonas, a very, very good drive, I think, from your perspective. Best result of the season, if I'm not mistaken, as well?
Yeah, that's. I think so. I think I have another podium, maybe in Imola, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a really good race. I'm just literally looking back at Imola, and yeah, you finished third in Imola, so this is your best result of the season. Volokongan, of course, beat you that day in Imola in the feature race, so to get one back on you, of course, on your TNR teammate was very good. But talk us through that race from your perspective, because it was quite wild and wacky. There was a threat of rain, there wasn't a threat of rain later on in the race, and then it turned out to be totally clean. How did you approach that race, especially with the two safety cars?
Under the first safety car, I was kind of lucky because I was right behind my teammate, and I actually tried to overtake him in the pit lane on the way into the pits, but I didn't manage to brake late enough, or yeah, I wasn't brave enough to get past him. But yeah, so I lost a couple of positions there, and yeah, it was just about keeping my head cool, saving ERS to the crucial moments, and yeah, just trying to make the right decisions.
Yeah, you made the right decision, and then you were involved in probably one of the best sights I think I've seen, running down in towards Turn 1. After the second safety car restart, I think you were 5 wide at one point down in towards Turn 1. That must have been one of the scariest moments I think I've ever seen from a spectator's perspective. How was it from your perspective, though?
Yeah, it must have been at least as scary. I saw all the arrows, and I just thought to myself that I need to brake late this year, or else I don't know what to do. So I just tried to brake as late as possible, and yeah, I had a car on my inside that braked even later. But yeah, I think we had a bit of contact, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, I really do not know how there was no contact, I think, at the end of that.
Yeah, it was quite impressive, I think, and yeah, it could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah, and I mean, still a P2 finish as well out on track, your best results of the season. Big congratulations of that, of course. Pariah, I'm going to come across to you. Any questions?
Well, me and TJ have talked a lot before, but I think this is the first time I ever talked English with him. And I'll of course have one important question. I think this is the most important you'll ever hear, TJ. Am I getting into first division in TNRL?
Of course not.
Ah! That's too bad. But awesome driven today, and of course always fun to see Norwegian flag up on the podiums. So well done, mates. Well driven race.
Thank you.
Final question for me as well before you go. Singapore next week. How do you think you're going to get on?
Well, last season in TNRL, that was actually my only win. So hopefully I can copy something close to that. So I like Singapore. It's a good track.
Yeah.
Hopefully a bit of rain and a good race.
Yeah, well, hopefully you follow that strong form that you seem to be finishing off the season with, of course, here in TTML, and I will let you go and enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
You are very welcome indeed, and that rounds us, of course, our interviews. I don't think Volokongan has joined the party. There's only 2 of us in, so I can only think Pariah is still alongside me in the commentary box. But a fantastic race there in TTML F2 tonight. Of course, more action to come tomorrow on the RacingTV. TTML F4, it will be Conti looking like possibly a solo commentary for Conti. He is back in the TTML F4 commentary box. Funky Chicken is another one, unfortunately, that has picked up COVID. We do wish Funky Chicken well. He has got a very sore throat. I was speaking to him earlier, and he has got a very sore throat. So, unfortunately, no doubling up in terms of the Northern commentary box tomorrow night, of course, in TTML F4. But TTML F5 also live, along with Pariah and Buck, of course, for F5. And, of course, it is Mexico once again, 8 PM UK time. You can catch the action on there. BNL, of course, to come over the weekend, as well as TTML F1 on Sunday. Possibly, with both championships now wrapped up, a real good fight on our hands, and possibly we could see that lap time of Yona maybe beaten by the F1 guys. I really hope so, because they've got something to live up to, I think, in terms of that lap time. But Pariah, I'm going to come across to you, your final thoughts and overall driver of the day.
Well, amazing driving from the drivers tonight, and one thing for sure is, I can say, is that normally I don't have time to watch all league races. Sometimes I check a quick look on F2 and F3, and not F1 because I do league races at the same time most of the time. But next Thursday, I'm gonna check this F2 stream because the championship and the driving here is gonna be so interesting that I wish I was commentating here next week as well.
I really wish you were as well, but Pepsi, of course, will be back alongside me next week. I am literally trying to see how the provisional standings might look. Ference will lead the way on 176 points. Jorg will be in second on 173 points. Yona will be in third on 161 points. That's my maths currently. But if I'm wrong, of course, you will find it all out in the Discord server, and of course at TTML F1 on Twitter, if you do want to give us a nice cheeky follow on there as well. That marks the end of the stream though. Really big thank you, of course, to Pariah. Hopefully you're going to get enough rest for tomorrow night in TTML F5. I'm sure the action is going to be fantastic there once again. And for myself and Pariah, we only have to say one more thing. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.